The necessity of suffering in spiritual and mental growth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.25, Queen Kunti offers one of the most remarkable prayers in all of devotional literature. She prays to Lord Krishna, "I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths." This prayer astonishes the conditioned mind. How could any sane person ask for calamities to return? The answer is that Kunti Devi had realized what most souls spend lifetimes failing to understand. Suffering, when properly received, destroys our false attachment to this material world and turns the face of the soul toward God. Srila Prabhupada comments on this verse with characteristic directness. He explains that the material world is a place of tribulation for all, even for the demigods and the heavenly planets. Suffering is not an accident in this world. It is a structural feature of material existence built into the very fabric of a realm governed by the three modes of nature. Why suffering exists. The Bhagavad Gita 13.8 lists humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity among the qualities leading to knowledge. These virtues are rarely cultivated in comfort. The human tendency in times of ease is to forget God, to imagine oneself the center of all things, and to sink deeper into the illusion that this temporary arrangement is one's permanent home. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, "The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind." The word struggling is key. The conditioned soul is meant to struggle. That struggle is not punishment. It is the educational curriculum of material existence. Through repeated confrontation with loss, disappointment, disease, and death, the intelligent soul begins to ask the questions that alone deliberation. Who am I? Why am I suffering? Is there a way out? What is the purpose of this life? The Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.10 establishes this principle directly. The great sages, having received the mercy of Vasudeva, could see by pure knowledge that the sufferings of living beings were due to their forgetfulness of Krishna. Suffering, then, is the consequence of forgetfulness of God. But it is also, by the Lord's merciful arrangement, the very instrument that restores that memory. The soul that has forgotten Krishna is like a person walking in the wrong direction. Pain is the obstacle that stops him. Reflection is the turning around. Bhakti is the walk back home, the psychological and spiritual dimension. From the standpoint of mental growth, adversity produces what comfort cannot. The Vedic tradition recognizes this through the concept of tapasya, voluntary austerity, which even great sages, kings, and devotees embrace as the means of purification and spiritual advancement. If suffering had no value, tapasya would make no sense. But the sages understood that the soul is strengthened, refined, and elevated through disciplined engagement with difficulty. In the story of Prahlada Maharaj, a 5-year-old child was subjected to tortures that would break the composure of the most seasoned warrior. He was thrown from cliffs, placed in boiling oil, trampled by elephants, and attacked with weapons. Yet Bhagavatam 7.9.18 records that Prahlada himself acknowledged the mercy embedded in his trials. "My Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim." Prahlada did not grow in spite of his suffering. He grew through it. His consciousness became so purified by constant absorption in the Lord while enduring those trials that he became a beacon of devotion for all of human history. Similarly, the Pandavas, the greatest devotees of Lord Krishna in the Mahabharata age, were subjected to 12 years of forced exile, the attempted public humiliation of Draupadi, poisoning, attempted burning, and constant conspiracy against their lives. Yet each trial deepened their dependence on Krishna. Their suffering did not break their faith. It forged it into something unbreakable. The distinction between material and spiritual response to suffering. The key teaching of Bhagavad Gita is not that suffering is pleasant, but that one's response to suffering determines one's trajectory. In the second chapter, Arjuna is overwhelmed by grief and confusion at the prospect of battle. His mind is clouded, his intelligence compromised, his body trembling. Lord Krishna does not dismiss this suffering. He addresses it directly, systematically, and lovingly over 18 chapters. Krishna teaches, Bhagavad Gita 2:14, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Tolerance here does not mean indifference or suppression. It means the wisdom to see suffering in its proper context, as temporary, as purposeful, and as ultimately unable to touch the eternal soul. This understanding is itself a form of spiritual maturity that only comes through experience, and experience means living through difficulty. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport to Bhagavad Gita 256, one who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. The sage of steady mind described here is not someone who never suffered. He is someone who suffered and, through proper understanding and devotional practice, was not destroyed by it. Suffering was his teacher, and Krishna was his guide. The threefold miseries as the condition of material life. Srila Prabhupada consistently emphasizes in his books and lectures that material life is defined by three categories of suffering. Adhyatmika, miseries arising from one's own body and mind. Adibhaudika, miseries caused by other living beings. Adidaivika, miseries caused by natural forces and higher powers beyond one's control. No living entity in the material world is exempt from all three. The Bhagavatam does not present this as pessimism. It presents it as the honest diagnosis of the patient's condition. A physician who accurately diagnoses a disease is not being cruel. He is being compassionate. The Vedic literature, beginning with this honest assessment of suffering, then provides the complete cure through the path of Bhakti Yoga. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2 opens with this foundational statement that the text is the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic literature and is meant for those who are utterly disgusted with the meaningless activities of material life. That disgust is born of suffering. Without sufficient suffering, the soul does not seek a higher shelter. It simply rearranges its material circumstances and calls that progress. Conclusion. Life comes with suffering because we are souls who have forgotten our eternal identity and our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Suffering is not the enemy. Forgetfulness of God is the enemy. Suffering is the corrective medicine prescribed by the Lord's own material energy to bring the wandering soul back to its senses. Every mental trial that teaches us humility, every material loss that loosens our grip on temporary things, every heartbreak that reveals the inadequacy of this world as our final home, every disappointment that turns our eyes toward eternity, all of this is the Lord's arrangement for our ultimate benefit. As Srila Prabhupada wrote in the Nectar of Devotion, a pure devotee sees the Lord's hand in everything, in both joy and sorrow. And from that vision comes not bitterness, but gratitude, not despair, but the deepest and most unshakable peace. Hare Krishna.